The sun dipped below the horizon. Shadows stretched long across the fields. A young woman, Marie-Jeanne Vallée, made her way home. Her heart pounded. The air held a chill, a premonition of dread. A rustle in the nearby thicket made her jump. Was it the wind or something else? Suddenly, a monstrous form erupted from the bushes. It was large, with a thick coat of reddish fur. Its teeth were bared in a terrifying snarl. Marie-Jeanne screamed, but it was too late. The beast attacked, its fangs sinking into her flesh. This was no ordinary animal. This was the Beast of Gévaudan. Marie-Jeanne's death was only the beginning. Over the next 3 years, the beast would terrorize the region, leaving a trail of blood and fear in its wake. The people of Gévaudan were trapped in a nightmare, their lives ruled by terror. 18th century Gévaudan was a world away from the glittering court of Versailles. While the nobility reveled in opulence and grandeur, the people of Gévaudan faced a starkly different reality. It was a land of rugged mountains, dense forests, and isolated villages. The landscape was both beautiful and unforgiving, a place where nature's majesty and menace coexisted. Life was hard, dominated by agriculture and tradition. The peasants toiled from dawn till dusk, their hands calloused from years of labor. Every harvest was a gamble, with the whims of weather and soil determining their fate. Superstition held sway in the minds of the peasantry. Tales of spirits and omens were passed down through generations, whispered in hushed tones around the hearth. The people were deeply religious, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the Catholic Church. Every Sunday they gathered in the village church, seeking solace and guidance from their faith. They believed in the power of the supernatural, in witches and werewolves. These beliefs were not mere stories but perceived realities that shaped their understanding of the world. The harsh realities of life, the ever-present threat of famine and disease, fueled their anxieties. Each year brought new challenges, and survival was never guaranteed. Into this world of fear and faith, the beast arrived, a terrifying embodiment of their deepest nightmares. It was said to be a creature of immense size and ferocity, striking without warning and leaving devastation in its wake. The landscape itself seemed to breed fear. The mountains loomed like silent sentinels, and the forests, dense and dark, were filled with unknown perils. The dense forests, shrouded in mist, became places of dread. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig could be the harbinger of doom. Shepherds avoided taking their flocks to graze in the shadow of the woods. The once familiar paths now seemed fraught with danger, and the safety of the open fields was preferred. Travelers hurried along the roads, their eyes darting nervously into the undergrowth. Every journey was a test of courage, with the fear of the unknown lurking at every turn. The very air seemed thick with the threat of unseen danger. The villagers lived in a state of constant vigilance, their lives overshadowed by the ever-present fear of the beast. The once peaceful nights were now filled with the sounds of distant howls, and the days were marked by the discovery of new victims. The Beast of Gévaudan had turned their world upside down, leaving a legacy of terror that would be remembered for generations. The attacks followed a chilling pattern. Each night, the village would be cloaked in an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant howl of a wolf. The villagers knew that the beast was out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The beast, described as larger than a wolf with a powerful build and a reddish-brown coat, seemed to target women and children. Its eyes were said to glow with a malevolent intelligence, and its movements were swift and silent, like a ghost in the night. It would often attack in broad daylight, its ferocity exceeding that of any known predator. The beast showed no fear of humans, brazenly entering villages and attacking its victims in plain sight. The sheer audacity of its attacks left the villagers in a state of constant terror. The victims were often mutilated, their throats torn out, their bodies savaged. Fear gripped the province. The sight of the mangled bodies was enough to make even the bravest of men shudder. The beast's attacks were not just acts of predation, they were acts of pure malice. Parents refused to let their children out of their sight. The once lively village streets were now deserted as families huddled together in their homes, praying for the safety of their loved ones. The fear was palpable, a heavy weight that hung over the entire community. Women traveled in groups, armed with whatever weapons they could find. They carried sticks, knives, and even farming tools, anything that could be used to defend themselves against the beast. The sense of camaraderie among the women was strong, but so was the underlying fear. The fields lay untended as terror paralyzed the rural communities. The crops withered and died, and the once bustling markets were now empty. The beast had not only taken lives, it had taken the very lifeblood of the village. Stories of the beast's latest atrocities spread like wildfire, each more gruesome than the last. The villagers would gather in the market square, exchanging the latest news with hushed voices and fearful glances. The tales of the beast's attacks grew more horrifying with each retelling, fueling the collective fear. Fear soon gave way to anger and desperation. The people demanded action. They gathered outside the official buildings, torches in hand, their faces twisted with rage and frustration. They demanded that the local authorities do something, anything, to stop the beast. Local officials organized hunts, but the beast always seemed to be one step ahead, disappearing into the dense forests as quickly as it appeared. The hunting parties, armed with rifles and accompanied by hunting dogs, scoured the forests. But the beast was elusive, a phantom that seemed to vanish into thin air. The creature's ability to evade capture only heightened the sense of fear and frustration. The hunters would return empty-handed, their faces etched with defeat. The villagers' hopes would rise with each new hunt, only to be dashed when the beast struck again. It seemed invincible, a demonic force that mocked their efforts. The villagers began to believe that the beast was not of this world, that it was a creature of darkness sent to punish them. The sense of hopelessness grew, as did the legend of the beast. It became a symbol of their deepest fears, a shadow that loomed over their lives, a reminder of the fragility of their existence. Word of the beast's reign of terror eventually reached the court of King Louis XV. The king, eager to demonstrate his power and concern for his subjects, dispatched his own hunters to Gévaudan. These were not ordinary huntsmen. They were skilled trackers and marksmen, veterans of countless royal hunts. They arrived with their finest horses, hounds, and muskets, confident in their ability to bring down the beast. The king's intervention brought a glimmer of hope to the terrified populace. At last, it seemed, a force capable of defeating the beast had arrived. The hunters, led by the experienced Captain Francois Antoine, set about their task with zeal. They scoured the countryside, interviewed witnesses, and laid elaborate traps. They tracked the beast through the forests and across the rugged terrain, their determination fueled by the king's command and the pleas of the desperate villagers. Despite their relentless efforts, the beast continued to evade capture. The hunters, seasoned and skilled, combed through the dense forest at dusk, their weapons ready, their senses heightened. They moved in coordinated search parties, determined to end the terror that had gripped their village. Yet the beast seemed to possess an uncanny ability to stay one step ahead, slipping through their grasp like a shadow in the night. Weeks turned into months, and still, the attacks continued. The seasons changed. The forest transformed from the vibrant greens of spring to the fiery hues of autumn, and then to the stark, bare branches of winter. Each sunset brought a renewed sense of dread, as the villagers braced themselves for another night of fear. The beast's reign of terror showed no signs of abating, and the hunters' frustration grew with each passing day. The hunters brought down dozens of wolves, their traps and weapons proving effective against the ordinary predators of the forest. They examined tracks, hoping to find clues that would lead them to the true killer. But the beast they sought was no ordinary wolf. It left behind no clear trail, no evidence that could be followed. The true killer remained elusive, a phantom that haunted their every step. Frustration mounted and whispers began to circulate. In the dimly lit taverns, villagers spoke in hushed tones, their faces etched with worry. They shared rumors and speculations, each more outlandish than the last. The fear of the unknown bred a fertile ground for wild theories and dark suspicions. The beast had become more than just a physical threat. It was a symbol of their deepest fears and anxieties. Some suggested that the beast was not a wolf at all, but a more exotic creature, perhaps a hyena escaped from a traveling menagerie. They pointed to historical drawings and illustrations, comparing the descriptions of the attacks to the behavior of such animals. The idea of an exotic predator roaming their woods added a new layer of fear, as it suggested that the beast was not bound by the natural order they understood. Others whispered of darker forces at work. They spoke of ancient curses and malevolent spirits, of creatures that lurked in the shadows, waiting to prey on the unsuspecting. The dark forest at night became a place of nightmares, where eerie, shadowy figures seemed to move just beyond the edge of vision. The villagers' fear of the supernatural grew, feeding on their collective imagination. The beast, they said, was a loup-garou, a werewolf, a creature of supernatural power, perhaps even the devil himself in animal form. The idea of a werewolf, a being that could shift between human and beast, struck a chord of primal terror. Historical illustrations and dramatic reenactments of werewolf transformations fueled their fears, making the legend of the loup-garou seem all too real. The beast's ability to evade the king's skilled hunters only lent credence to these rumors. The hunters, despite their expertise and determination, found themselves outmatched by a creature that seemed to possess an almost supernatural cunning. Their failed hunts became a source of shame and frustration as they struggled to understand how an animal could outwit them so consistently. The failure of the royal hunters to stop the beast had an unintended consequence. It undermined the authority of the king, who had promised protection and safety to his subjects. The royal decree, once a symbol of power and control, now seemed hollow and ineffective. The hunters returned empty-handed, their heads bowed in defeat, and the king's disappointment was palpable. It also undermined the authority of the church. The villagers, who had always looked to their faith for comfort and guidance, began to doubt the power of their prayers. The empty pews in the church were a stark reminder of their growing disillusionment. If the church could not protect them from a single beast, what did that say about the power of their God? The king, too, looked concerned, as he realized that the beast's reign of terror was shaking the very foundations of his rule. If the king's men could not protect the people from a single animal, what good was their power? The villagers, once united in their fear, now found themselves divided and distressed. The empty village square, once a place of community and safety, now echoed with the sounds of arguments and accusations. The townsfolk began to question the very structure of their society, wondering if they could truly rely on their leaders for protection. If God allowed such a creature to exist, was he not just and merciful? The villagers' faith was tested as they grappled with these questions. They prayed fervently, their faces etched with concern, but the answers they sought seemed elusive. The church, once a sanctuary of hope, now felt abandoned and empty. The villagers' belief in a just and merciful God was shaken, and they struggled to reconcile their faith with the reality of the beast's existence. These were dangerous questions in a society built on faith and obedience. The villagers' heated discussions in the historical courtroom reflected the growing tension and uncertainty. Their worried faces, captured in dramatic close-ups, told the story of a community on the brink of crisis. The beast had become more than just a physical threat. It was a catalyst for a deeper, more existential fear that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their society. The destruction of the beast was declared multiple times, yet debates over its true nature persisted even after the attacks had ceased. The story of the Beast of Gévaudan remains one of France's greatest mysteries, alongside legends such as that of the man in the iron mask. According to French historian Jean-Marc Morisseau, the hysteria surrounding the beast was amplified by newspapers, both local ones like Courrier d'Avignon and national publications such as La Gazette. Following the end of the 7 Years' War, these newspapers sought sensational stories to boost their sales. The beast never fell into traps or snares, ignored poisoned bait scattered across the forests, and successfully evaded large-scale hunts for 3 years. It displayed an intelligence far beyond that of a typical wolf, reinforcing the superstitions of local peasants who believed they were dealing with a werewolf. As demonstrated by an almost successful attempt to shoot the creature in October 1764, the beast exhibited an extraordinary level of resilience. This further fueled the belief among terrified villagers that it was something supernatural. Finally, in 1767, the man-eating Beast of Gévaudan was brought down by a silver bullet. Subscribe to our channel Savage and Serene to never miss new exciting shorts and full documentary videos about the mysteries of flora and fauna.